Hi everyone, it's Danny. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm sharing my design team layout for the Scrap the Boys challenge. I'm working off the prompt for August, and this video is going up a few days late, but there is still plenty of time to get your entries in, so make sure to check the description box for the link to the challenge and head over there to link up your entries. So I have popped the prompt image up there on the screen for you, so you can see it is a floral challenge. Put a flower on it is the name of the challenge. So we are all doing floral layouts for our boys this month, and unfortunately my camera did cut out the first part of this video, but all you missed is me picking out that peach cardstock background and doing a couple of layers of paper behind my photo and then just distressing there. So I'm working with the One Canoe 2 Twilight collection mostly. So the papers that I backed my photo with are from that paper pad, from the 12 by 12 paper pad, and all these florals are from that paper pad as well. So I just went through and fussy cut all these big beautiful florals. They're just a nice bright white flower with a nice dark green leaf, and I really like the pop of rich orange in the center of those flowers, so I decided to go ahead and use those. So I'm just going to create a big floral cluster. This is one of my favorite techniques to use in scrapbooking. I find it just really simple, really easy, and because these flowers are so big, I didn't have to spend too long fussy cutting them. So I am just going through and piling those up how I like them, and then I am going to go in with my wet glue here and just add a bit of glue to each piece within this cluster so that everything is attached to my photo and I can just move the whole thing as one big piece. So I'm just using a generic brand tacky glue for this. It's just my go-to wet adhesive. There we go. I have got those clusters in the corners, but I end up not going with those. So I'm going to do a bit of stamping and embossing on this layout. One of my goals for this year was to use my stamps more, and I'm getting them used a lot more than I usually would. So this set is actually quite new to me. I haven't used it before. I've only had it for a month or two. So I'm just, you can see I was priming the stamp on the palm of my hand there. I just find I get a crisp image the first time I use a new stamp if I do that. So I'm using my Distress Oxide ink pad in Chipped Sapphire, and on this peach cardstock, it's going to look almost black. It's quite a dark kind of grey. The orange really neutralizes the blue. So I really like how that turns out. And I really quite like how these oxides ink pads stamp, which is interesting because I don't like how the Distress inks stamp. They stamp really kind of, I don't know, maybe mine are just really old, but my Distress inks don't stamp nicely, but I really like how the Distress Oxides do stamp. So I'm just doing these randomly. I wasn't really paying much attention to where they were going. I was just trying to fill in the gaps, really. This stamp I have is a Martha Stewart one. It's really old, but I've used it heaps. It's got some really pretty delicate butterflies on it and a few roses and things as well. So it's probably my most used stamp. And I am coming in with my embossing now. So I'm just using my Versamark clear embossing ink, and I'm just going to stamp two of those butterflies in either corner. So I'm going on a bit of a diagonal across the page here. And the embossing powder I'm using is just white. And I think it is the Zing brand, which I feel like isn't around anymore. I'm sure I saw them going out on clearance in Spotlight, and I haven't seen them for quite a while in stores. So that's probably not around anymore, but it's just a plain white, nothing special about it. And then I will come in with my heat gun, and I'm not sure whether it's going to show up very well on camera, but that embossing powder is melting down and becoming nice and opaque. This is my favorite way to use, rather than stamping in white ink, which I find just doesn't, I've never found a white ink that I like the stamped image of. I've just embossed with white and it turns out really nicely. So now this is my Liquitex acrylic ink in titanium white as usual. I'm just doing splatters of that, again in that, mostly in that diagonal pattern, but I will sprinkle just a few delicate splatters, on the rest of the page here. But I'm focusing most of the splatters on that diagonal. Next I'm coming in with the same brand of ink, but it is in the copper color. I'm just checking. It's called Iridescent Rich Copper. It's a beautiful metallic, very shiny, and because I've used that peach cardstock, it's in that kind of orangey family. So really, really pretty color. I just don't have much of an opportunity to use it, so I was taking full advantage here. And I like the darker color. It gives a bit more contrast, and it really brings out the orange in the center of those flowers as well. So now I'm finished with all that. I'm just going ahead and gluing down my cluster. and popping in a few of those extra florals there just to fill in. Then I'm going to add a few enamel dots. I'm going to use, I think I'd use 3 different packets actually to try and get the tones that I want. I'm really trying to pull those reddish orange tones out. So I use a deep red orange, I use a glittery pale peach color, and then I use kind of a mid-tone orange. And I will fuss around with those, of course, because I can never be happy with how I place my enamel dots the first time. So I've used a Rosa Studio packet. I used a packet just from eBay, I think, and then that last one was a Pink Fresh. Now I am pulling out the, I think this is Heidi Swap Storyline Chapters, the sticker sheet. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. I have just pulled out this I Like You a Lot. It's a foiled sticker and in place of a title, because there's not really anywhere that I would like to put a large title on this page. Most of the page is taken up, and the only place really would be at the bottom right, which is actually where my journaling is going to go. So I've just decided to use this sticker, and I've just inked the edges with an orange felt tip pen, and I just find that's the easiest way to ink the edges of a sticker like this, where the edges are irregular. It's very difficult to do with an ink pad, so I just like to do it with a felt tip pen. Still ink, so it just works really well. Popping in some foam squares just to lift everything up and give a bit of dimension. I'm just popping those along the outer edge of those flowers and a few of the leaves. So I don't want the whole thing popped up, just the outside edge. And then I will just rule some faint pencil lines for my journaling. I am going to erase these. I don't like underlining journaling on my pages. That's just a personal preference. I know a lot of people really like it, but it's just not my thing. So I've just drawn those faintly. Usually I would just freehand, but I have quite a bit of journaling here to write, so I'm just using an orange Sharpie pen to write that in, and I like how that it pulls in those colors but isn't in your face. And then the very last thing I'm going to do is use my white Uniball Signo Broad Gel pen to sketch in a couple of butterflies. And that is my layout finished. So thank you so much for joining me today. Don't forget to check the description box for the link to the challenge, and I'll see you next time. Bye guys.